Welcome back to the Gen 20 podcast. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Marina. Today we're talking about letting things go. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. Our spaces are meant to be welcoming, comfortable, and reflective of who we are. Whether it's a cubicle, home office, living room, or game room, it's only natural to want to make your space your own. You could go with the big box store art canvases that are mass-produced and match whatever's trendy this season, or you could find artwork that truly reflects your interests and passions. Whether you want to represent your inner Whovian, channel Mulan, or remind yourself to grab another cup of coffee, Fandemonium Design has art prints to bring joy to your space, available in a variety of styles and sizes to fit small pockets or a whole wall. Check out the full selection of prints and more at www.fandemoniumdesign.com and follow the adventure on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Vero at Fandemonium Design. And we're back. So if you've been following along on social media or on our email blast, you probably know that Nicole and I have closed down one of our businesses, the Capsule Collab. We ran it for 2 years together, remotely and bi-coastally, if that's a word. So Nicole is the founder and editor-in-chief of Gen20.com and Gen30.com, and I am the managing editor of Gen20, as well as working on a novel, and I have a writing, coaching, and editing business. So we are busy women, and during the pandemic, we started the Capsule Collab, TCC, with big visions and medium plans. And over the last 2 years, we kind of realized running TCC wasn't feasible because we never planned to scale it, but could now no longer keep up with it. So we had to have a conversation about letting it go. So Nicole, what was that like?
Well, I think it was like a hard decision for both of us because it's something that we both really loved doing and really enjoyed. But the thing was, when we started it, yes, it was like the pandemic. And at the time when we started it, I still lived in Seattle and you were in California. So
same time zone.
Yeah, it was like you could just pop up like pretty quickly, like, even for a few days. And it was a lot easier when we were on the same coast. And then pretty soon after we started it, I moved cross country to Pennsylvania. And I've pretty much just I moved all the inventory with me. So I manage all the shipping and the packaging and the inventory and all that stuff. And when we started this, I only had one child who was 18 months old. And now I have two children, the youngest of which who was 21 months old. So a lot has changed. And I think it was probably over the summer when I started kind of feeling like I was spending a lot of time packaging orders and managing inventory, when it's I sort of just didn't want to be spending my time that way anymore. And it's kind of these feelings were creeping in where I guess we were both sort of I don't know, we really love this, but doesn't make sense to continue doing. And our business model doesn't really allow for a large profit margin for that particular business, which we both knew going into it, which I think we were both fine with. It wasn't.
We started this as a passion project.
Yeah, I mean, we were very lucky that it's been profitable every year that we've done it, and then we've been able to give money back to the causes that we were supporting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as you said, we were never planning to scale this business in retail to make a large profit. You have to scale. You have to be selling hundreds of thousands of units or have very low costs but high wholesale rates.
Right.
Or retail rates. And that just wasn't the case for us, especially in doing the boxes the way that we were.
And with the vendors we wanted to support small businesses with high quality, sustainable products. And that
exactly
doesn't lead to the same margins that other products might.
Yeah, that you might see on I don't even know.
Other places. Yeah.
Yeah, trash, absolute trash.
Literally straight to landfill. And for me, being on the West Coast, the time zones were a big thing to adjust to. But also you had all the inventory, so you were doing all of the packaging and shipping. And so I wanted to be able to help more with social media, but because you did have all the inventory, and if we're honest with ourselves, the better photography skills, you also ended up having to take all the photos and ran all the social media. And it just felt really uneven in that I knew you were doing most of the work. And then that would weigh on me as a friend and business
Mhm.
partner. And it just, for me, it was, I think I was ready to let go of TCC like a year ago because I knew I wasn't,
Mhm.
I wasn't partnering the way I wanted to. And I didn't know how else to change because I wasn't ready
Yeah,
to
yeah,
move
I
to
mean,
Pennsylvania.
just, like, in the physicality of the business, like, that way I mean, it was challenging, and, like, I think yeah, because we did have this discussion first last year,
Hmm.
and I think there was, like, some things that we both wanted to kinda, like, live out a little more, like, there
Yeah.
was, like, a few collections we wanted to do, and we still really enjoyed it, so it was kinda like we kind of went into this year knowing that unless, like, some big thing changed in some way, this would be our last year, and I think, like, our biggest decision was that we chose not to stock anything special for holidays and
Yeah.
unique, because honestly, like, last holiday season was, like, our best season of the whole year, and I mean, obviously, people are shopping a lot more in the holidays and stuff, but I think that that almost, like, surprised people that we didn't do anything
Hmm.
this holiday, and actually, like, we just decided to put because originally our plan was gonna be to put everything on sale after the holidays, because we did 40 and 50% off the entire site, which
Yeah.
is, like,
Big.
massive discounts, like, you don't really see that anywhere, for obvious reasons.
Right.
Um,
This was a fire
but
sale. Everything must go.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was the idea. Obviously, I don't wanna be stuck with all this inventory that I have nothing to do with, but yeah, I think, like, once we sort of decided that we weren't going to do anything special for the holidays, I think it really just took a lot of stress off of both of us,
Yeah.
because this is, like, a super busy time of year for everyone, like, even personally, but professionally as well, and I think just making that decision and knowing that it was officially coming to an end was, like, a huge weight off of both of our shoulders.
Yeah, it was so much easier for me to hop on social media so much more consistently because I knew, all right, I have one goal. It's to help sell these
Mhm.
specific things. And I wasn't trying to build new audience, I
Mhm.
wouldn't say readers, new shoppers. Like it was just, we're trying to get the word out about our sale. And that,
Mhm.
I think we had to do, I mean, we like first noodled on the idea a year ago and then maybe 6 months ago brought it up again. And it took a lot of conversations and iterations to be ready to let go of
Mhm.
TCC and our hopes for it and our plans for it. And
Yeah,
so,
I mean, like, overall, I think that the whole thing was a big success, like, I don't regret doing it, I don't feel like I don't like, I mean, I guess knowing now, there might be some things I would do differently if I really spent time thinking about it, but, like, I'm not going to because there's no
yeah,
point. But also, I think like you were saying, like, it really took several conversations with each other and looking over things to, like, realize that we were both, like, physically and emotionally, spiritually, financially ready to let this
yeah.
shit go.
And like that idea too that it's not a failure, but we're letting it go.
Mhm.
Like I think
Yeah.
so often when something ends, it's because it's failed,
Mhm.
but it's not true. And like we're allowed to just let shit go that no longer serves us for where we want to be in the future. Because I think that was the big
Mhm.
changing point for why we ultimately decided to close, was because our future goals didn't have enough room to include TCC, and we
Mhm.
needed that time and energy to really project these things that we cared more about and that would
Mhm.
have longer legs and longer legacies, I guess. And that's just one example of letting go of things that no longer serve us. So
Mhm.
like I've been working for 2 years on letting go of things, and it just takes time. But Nicole, do you have another example of like something you've let go of?
Yeah, so pivoting from the whole
Pivot?
business thing, One thing that really came to mind with me when we were talking about this episode was letting go of expectations of parenting.
Mm.
I think like being in the age of Instagram parenting is like very challenging because you're constantly inundated with pictures and videos and reels and all these things of like all these things that people are doing with their kids, these activities, taking them places, doing X, Y, and Z and F and G and B and Z and whatever.
Mhm.
And it's a lot. It's a lot. And I personally, as a parent, find it really overwhelming. I do think there are really helpful resources out there, but I really have to limit my consumption of them
Oh, yeah.
because I think when you see other kids doing things as a parent, you're kind of like, oh, why isn't my kid doing that? Or I should try this with my kid. But the thing that you're not seeing on Instagram is that the kid was paying attention for like 2 minutes. Or
Mhm.
like they did this painting, but they also painted all over the wall. But like they're not putting that on Instagram and or like your kid is doing X, Y, and Z.
Oh.
And for a while I would try to do activities with my son, my oldest son. And I mean, like, I think it's good to expose them to things, but I also think it's worth just meeting them where they're at and leaning into their strengths and not
Mhm.
putting these points of comparison on them and like thinking, oh, they should be doing this, they should be doing that, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's really negative for our children. And I think it's negative for us as parents. I mean, I know you're not a parent yet, Marina, but
I am at
it's
heart. I've been a mom my whole life,
yeah, it's true.
emotionally.
It's true. I mean, soon, hopefully. Fingers crossed all around.
Guys, we don't have any surprise news. I'm not
No,
expecting. It's just a
no,
dream. It's just a
yeah,
dream.
yeah. One day she'll be mom. But yeah, this was just like one thing that came to my mind was in I like had to let that shit go, and that meant that I
Yeah.
had to unfollow certain accounts, even though I liked them and I liked their ideas. But what it was doing for me was putting me in the space of comparison, not just for myself, but for my children, and where I was like, oh, why aren't they doing this or why aren't they doing that? And it's that's not actually what I should be spending my time doing. I should be spending my time leaning into their strengths and
And
helping
their
them grow
and
where
their
they are.
interests. Yeah.
Yeah, and not be like, "Oh, my kid doesn't watch the show. Why not?" Or like, "This is like the most fascinating show or like activity or whatever." Like, I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't care.
Yeah, I've had to do that for myself. I had to every once in a while I do an Instagram audit or TikTok or newsletters on my email list. Like we get so much content and consumption thrown some consumables to thrown at us
Mhm.
where I was in like a comparison like frozen point and I had to tell myself you can't be these people. You have to be yourself,
Mhm.
which is like so cheesy, but I have really had to work on letting go of these old limiting beliefs. And that included changing habits in my life to support letting go of old ones and bringing in new ones. So
Mhm.
I I'm really optimistic for everyone else except myself. So that's one thing I've worked on is just this assuming something bad will happen for myself that the business I'm building won't go the way I want. I've had to just let that go because it wasn't serving me. I was never going to be more successful in the way I wanted to if I kept thinking the way I was thinking. And that included I'm all over the place. Doing that included deleting TikTok from my phone. First, I'm on a 6-week hiatus because I wasn't using its powers for good and going through my Instagram because I don't have as bad of an addiction to it because it's more of a boring app. So,
Mhm.
so I went through and unfollowed a bunch of things and have like literally practiced throwing my phone to the other side of the room once I've done what I need to do on it.
Mhm.
But I also have started writing down positive present tense affirmations to help rewire the old ones. Like I really want to publish my novel. I'm not anywhere close to it, but I one of my affirmations is I'm a published author. I have a book tour. I'm planning to sell X amount of units or whatever. Because before it was just like, oh, I really hope one day I can be an author. And then I would feel all this dread about how I'm not working on my writing or getting anywhere closer. I was like, okay, well, that belief system or focusing on what I haven't done isn't helping me move forward. I have to let go of the expectations I had for myself, of the expectations I had for my novel, of where I wanted to be by now. I think that really is something we have to practice because we can't live in the
Mhm.
past and the future and the present. We have to just live in the present. And if something isn't working presently, and if you look back and it like really didn't help you in the past, why are you going to carry it in with you to the future? So
Mhm.
like let go of things to make room for other things.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that like really ties it all together because when you are letting go of the things that aren't serving you, that aren't helping you, that aren't going to help you reach your goals, that in some ways are really holding you back, aren't aligned with what you want to be doing or should be doing or whatever, however you want to phrase it. I think that that makes space for the things that do serve you.
Mhm.
So, going back to the instance of the capsule collab, that was taking up a lot of our time, a lot of my physical space in my home, a
Mhm.
lot of our emotional energy, a lot of our conversations.
A lot of brain space.
And yeah, and I think now that I feel relieved that we've let it go. I
Yeah.
feel like it's not a decision that's like hovering over us anymore that we have to wait to figure out. I feel that we closed the doors on it with like a very grateful heart.
Yeah.
And now this leaves me like because I mean I manage all the inventory and the packing and the website and everything that it's like it leaves me with so much more time to do the things that one actually make me a significant amount of more money,
Mhm.
two to spend time with my family, and three to expand in other areas of my life that I didn't have time for before because I was having to give time to this other thing, you
Yeah.
know.
Let that shit go.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Amen.
Well, thanks so much for listening. This has been another episode of the Gen 20 podcast. If you like our slightly unhinged season where we are getting more real, let us know. Email us, comment, review, give us a 5-star rating, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.